Let's turn now to our panel. Joining us here in the studio is Amy Zalman. She's the owner of the Strategic Narrative Institute and an adjunct professor at Georgetown University. And from Palo Alto, California, we have Joanna Wei. She's co-founder of MakerSpace, Beijing, a technology lab based in China. Thanks to both of you for joining us. Amy, let me start with you here in the studio. Automation, we are told, will transform us and the way we live in ways humankind has not experienced before. The man who said that was Klaus Schwab, who's the co-founder of the World Economic Forum. This is being called the fourth industrial revolution. How will it change our lives? Will it make our lives longer? Will we be healthier? What happens?
Well, it depends who we are, but it will do all of the above. It will transform how we work, whether we work, ultimately what we consider valuable to do all day. It will transform our society it will transform the way we transport ourselves. It will transform probably the way that we educate ourselves and our children. There's very little of any part of society that will ultimately be left untouched by automation, although we may not be experiencing it ourselves every day, depending on who we are.
Clearly, it'll make our lives a lot easier, a lot better. There are benefits, but what's the downside?
Well, the downside is what we lose. It's useful perhaps to go back to history. I mean, we've been in transformative moments before with technology. When wage labor arose in the Industrial Revolution and we began to actually automate some of our tasks then, people felt that they lost something as well. So we might ask what we will lose. Will we lose the kinds of relationships that we are used to having with people as humanoid robots begin to be among us and we think about our relationships with machines very differently and have a lot more of them in our lives? Will we automate out of existence some tasks that give us pleasure and meaning in the course of our day?
Like?
Well, cooking comes to mind for me. We have already automated a great deal of what is in our kitchen, and we can use the present as an example. We will automate more. At the same time, we see that we are losing a relationship that we have to cooking with food that may be useful and meaningful for us.
All right, let's bring in Joanne. She's in Palo Alto. Joanne, you are the co-founder of a company called MakerSpace. It's being described as a technology lab. It has a big presence in China. What does MakerSpace do?
So MakerSpace, I started as a very community-driven type of makerspace. Actually, we just transferred that makerspace into an incubator. So we are raising this, startups from China. They're doing the hardware technologies. Yep.
Amy, there is one view that automation is not necessarily a good thing, that it removes labor costs, increases profits for big corporations. Unemployment will go up. Is that a fair argument?
I think so, yes.
The Economist magazine recently asked a very simple question. It said, will smarter machines cause mass unemployment? But, is that the inevitability of something that will happen in the name of science, in the name of technology and progress?
No. I think that you are right in pointing out that the language around this, the marketing around this, is as if automation of a certain sort were inevitable. But nothing is inevitable. It's in our hands, it's in policymakers' hands, it's in employers' hands, it should also be in workers' hands. Right. So we can decide how we want to deal with automation. But is automation putting people out of work, and are there reasonable estimates that up to 50% of jobs in certain sectors, especially industrial sectors, are on their way out, but an increasing number of sectors. Anything that is easier for a computer to do, or for a robot coupled with artificial intelligence, or any version of automation to do than a human, puts that human's job at risk.
Right, and I guess there are situations where robots, machines work with human beings, like doctors, for instance. We now have machines that are far more adept at diagnosing very complex illnesses than a human doctor would be able to.
Sure, absolutely. I have done a lot of work with the military, and there is an expectation that there will be among the decision makers in any given situation a machine as well, and automation and artificial intelligence that will participate in that decision making by producing results, by doing the thinking of the sort that is hard for humans to do.
Right. Joanne, I was looking at one report on the impact that automation is going to have in a country like China. This particular example that was cited was a company in Guangdong. It's a company called Ying Ale. It's a hardware manufacturer. 9 robots there have replaced 140 workers. And if we look at a country like China, a population of well over 1 billion, how is that going to affect Chinese society as we see automation expand more and more?
Well, I think there's a lot of discussion about how artificial intelligence impact China. So since I'm running MakerSpace, I definitely see a lot of the new frontier technology out there in China. Besides running MakerSpace, I'm actually running another education company. It's a STEM education. I think this is how I get prepared, to educate the young generation to learn something more about technology, like coding, soldering, how can they create something like a new career for themselves in the coming years. I think, robots definitely replace some of the very basic, labor work. But for the very creative jobs, they definitely need the people who are prepared for the, future jobs. Yeah, it's kind of different.
Right, I think I saw another example that you were talking about there for creative jobs, where technology has actually made those jobs a lot better, a lot more effective. Take something like graphic design.
Exactly.
Where you need humans, but technology has made it a lot easier.
Yes, exactly. So definitely, I think technology is a big value for some current jobs. But how can we make our lives better? Is definitely need a lot of creations, and they need to put their their logics, their value to this job. Yeah.
We are going to take a break right now. Coming up, we'll look at the future of the global economy. What role will corporations play in automation? And could many of us be out of jobs in the not too distant future, including journalists? Stay with us, you're watching The Heat.